Hi, third graders. We're going to read the second part of Boomtown, and I put a couple new pictures of some examples of what Boomtowns would have looked like. So take a minute and check those out, and then let's finish our story today. So remember, we are reading with a purpose this week. Since we have been recounting stories, we've been using the strategy of the five-finger retell, making sure you name the very important characters, the setting that this is happening in or when it's happening, or both, the problem the characters are having, the events that are happening in the story in the order that they occur, and only the important events, and then of course the ending of the story, which would include a solution to the problem. And since this week we are reading a longer story, Boomtown, it's going to be very important to pick and choose only the important details from the story to include in your recount. Today we're going to finish reading the story, and then tomorrow you're going to write a recount of the most important things that you remember from the story. Let's review what we read from yesterday. So think back to the most important details that you remember from yesterday's reading. Do you think you can do a short recount to remind yourself of what you read yesterday? Well, actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago on Tuesday. Can you do a short recount to remind yourself of what you read? Think about it. Okay, you should have remembered that Amanda was the main character and her family was included in that. Her pa was working in the gold fields in California and during the day, and her family stayed in town. And Amanda was lonely and bored most days, so she decided to cook pies. So those were the most important details from the story that we read on Tuesday. Okay, so your assignment for today, we're going to read the rest of Boomtown so you can do a recount. So pay attention to those important things from your five-finger retell. You're going to read pages 172 through 181. After the story, we have 5 questions about the important events of the story and the ending of the story. And I want you to answer those questions on the same piece of paper that you answered Tuesday's questions on, because you're going to use all of those answers to the questions to help you write a recount on Friday. And you can read the story with the video that I'm doing right now, or I've attached the file with the text and you can read the whole story that way. And Tuesday, I only attached the first part of the story, but today I included the whole story of Boomtown so you can go back and reread everything. And if you are doing that, we left off on paragraph 22 from Tuesday's assignment. Remember, while you're reading, stop and ask yourself questions to make sure that you're understanding what you're reading. Okay, let's start. I needed more pans and another bucket. One day, Peddler Pete came by, and with the money I'd made, I bought them. You're a right smart little girl, said the peddler, being in business like this. I thought fast and told him, anybody can make money out here. Folks need things all the time, and there's no stores around. If you were to settle and start one, I'll bet you'd get rich. Peddler Pete scratched his beard. Not a bad idea, he said. My feet are sore from roaming. I could use this cart and build my way up to having a store. So pretty soon, we had us a real store called Peddler Pete's Trading Post. Trappers and traders and travelers appeared. After shopping at Pete's, they were good and hungry. They came to our cabin looking for pie. Some liked it here so well they decided to stay. Soon we had a cooper, a tanner, a miller, a blacksmith. A town was starting to grow. A prospector came in on the stage from St. Joe, his clothes covered with dirt. He looked around at the folks eating pie and he asked, is there someone here who does washing? I stepped right up and I told him, what we need is a laundry. Why don't you stay and start one? Why, the miners are sending their shirts clear to China. You'll make more money doing laundry than looking for gold. The man thought a while. Then he said with a smile, you're right, little lady. It's a dandy idea. I'll send for my... Soon shirts and sheets fluttered on the line as people brought their washing it. A tailor came to make and mend clothes. A cobbler crafted shoes and boots. We heard the tip-tap, tap-tap of his hammer and smelled the sweet leather. A barber moved in with shaving mugs and an apothecary with herbs and healing drugs. So the town grew up all around us. My pie business blossomed. Sometimes the line snaked clear around the house. Baby Betsy entertained the people while they waited. Billy added another shelf. Joe and Ted made a bench. We all picked berries and apples. Even Ma came to help. We had to get a bigger jar for all the money coming in. One day, our old friend Cowboy Charlie rode by. Like everyone else, he stopped for some pie. "I'd like to rest a spell," he said. "Where can I leave my horse for the night?" "There's no livery stable," I said. "But why don't you start one? You'd rent out horses and wagons too. That would be the perfect business for you. You're just full of great ideas, little lady," Cowboy Charlie said. He twirled his lariat. "I'd like to settle down. I'll stay here and do just that." Soon a trail was worn right to Charlie's stable door. All day we heard the snoring of horses. Now Charlie needed hay. Farmers brought wagons and sacks full of feed. With all those people riding in, someone decided to build a hotel and a cafe. The town grew fast all around us. The owner of the cafe bought pies for me, 5 or 6 at a time. I taught Billy how to roll the crust. Joe got wood for the store. Ted washed the fruit, and baby Betsy tried to stir in the sugar. The money jar in our kitchen looked ready to burst. Where could we safely keep all that cash? Lucky us, one day Mr. Hooper, the banker, appeared. "I'm building a bank," Mr. Hooper said to me. This is getting to be a boomtown." "We'll use your bank," I told Mr. Hooper, "but the roads are so poor. In winter there's mud and in summer there's dust. We need some sidewalks and better streets." "You're a smart little lady," said Mr. Hooper, tipping his hat. "I'll see what I can do about that." Before we knew it, the bank was built and wooden sidewalks were laid. One street was called Bank Street, the other was Main. Soon every lane and landmark had a name. Pa and my brothers built on a big room for our bakery. Men sent for their families. New houses appeared everywhere. Babies and children filled up the town. We needed a school and a good schoolmarm. We knew Miss Camilla from our stagecoach days. She was living up the coast a ways. Cowboy Charlie rode off to fetch her, and she was glad to come. Miss Camilla, the teacher, had married a preacher, and he came too. We all got together to build a church and a school. Bells rang out every day of the week. Now this was a real boomtown. One day Pa said to me, "Amanda, I'm through panning for gold. Will you let me be in business with you?" "Sure," I said happily. "I'd love to work with you, Pa, and I'd also like to go to school." So Pa turned to baking, and we all worked together. Pa sang while he rolled out the dough. Amanda found a skillet and berries to fill it, made pies without a pan. Our pies are the best in all the West, and I guess I'm a lucky man. Now Pa is with us every day. There's excitement and bustle all around. Our house sits in the middle of a boomtown. And to think it all started with me, Amanda, baking pies. Okay, here are your questions. I also wrote down these questions in your Schoology assignment, so you can answer them from this video, or you can go back into the assignment and answer them from there. Question 1. How did Amanda's pie business get started? Number 2. What was the next business to open after Amanda's pie business? Number 3. Name at least 3 other businesses that came to the boomtown. 4. In your own words, describe a boomtown. And number 5, how did the story end? Okay, I want you to make sure you answer those questions in a complete sentence. That means use part of the question in your answer. Write those answers down on the same paper you used on Tuesday, and then keep that handy because your assignment for tomorrow will be to recount the story with the information that you wrote down for these questions. Remember, I also attached the entire story that you can read in the Schoology assignment. So you can click open the PDF, which is just the text version of the story, and you can read it there. All right, good job, boys and girls.